I'm Derren Brown. For the last 20 years, I've performed as a psychological illusionist. Now, in these aggressively divided times, I want to try and create a hero. Someone who will willingly lay down their life for a complete stranger.
There is absolutely an immigration problem in the United States. I say kick them out. I say kick them all out.
Phil believes he's taking part in a documentary. In fact, he is the unsuspecting star at the center of an elaborate psychological experiment based entirely around him and his beliefs.
I've always kind of been more biased towards white people, but again, I'm not racist.
The other day I happened upon Derren Brown's latest show, Sacrifice. This show is unique in his collection of work in that it was explicitly political. As you saw from the trailer, it's based on the usual themes you might expect to find on Netflix. In this video I want to take a closer look at Derren's cynical attempt to try and break into America by cashing in on the growing wave of anti-white sentiment that pervades the country, its politics, and its media. At the outset, I will say that Derren is a professional deceiver, and I'm certain that this was a badly scripted and badly acted piece of globalist propaganda that has been lazily recycled from one of his previous shows. That said, the plot begins when Derren comes to London looking for a subject for his experiment. He wants someone who exhibits antipathy towards other racial groups to see if he can change their attitude. This, of course, is modern media parlance for a white man. So, from a suspiciously white pool of candidates, enter Phil, an American in London who strangely doesn't mind being recorded on international TV talking about how he prefers white people and how all immigrants should be kicked out of his country. Phil's a normal white guy, works hard for a living, has a family, prefers his own tribe, and wants his government to enforce the borders. I.e., Phil's a nasty man and is the perfect exemplar of the toxic white male so despised by liberal America. Derren wants to turn this supposed racist into someone who will die for a Mexican illegal he has never met. In his words, he wants to find a hero to inspire people in our dark, divided times. So, how to create this hero? Well, obviously you cannot debate a man like Phil or try to use superior arguments to change his mind. One, because those arguments don't exist, and two, it would mean exposing the audience to ideas that might make them question the liberal orthodoxy. So Derren opts instead to tell Phil a pack of lies and then use psychological manipulation on his subconscious mind. Phil will become a true hero worthy of our globalist media age. So, the first lie Derren tells him is that he has implanted a new biotechnology in his neck, a microchip that will send electrical signals to his brain. He tells him that the whole purpose of the program is to test its effects. Although they cut him and make him bleed, they don't actually put anything in him. Joke's on you, Phil. And then they give him a mind control app for his phone that will condition his mind to respond to a sound. Derren explains to us that the real purpose of the program is to convince Phil to die for someone of a different race. Seriously. Then, in order to make Phil overcome his irrational fear of dying for a random border jumper, Derren must first teach him not to feel pain. This he accomplishes by using mind control techniques to make him disassociate himself from his body. He then gets Phil to stick a needle through his own hand, and Phil feels nothing. Everything is going well. But eliminating the ability to feel pain is just the first step in Phil's heroic transformation. Derren will also try to shut off his entire fear response. Phil's afraid of heights, so Derren takes him to a lake and tries to get him to jump off a high platform into the lake by using the phone app and techniques of suggestion. Despite repeated tries, Derren fails to convince Phil this is a good idea. However, Derren vows to press on with his plan and push Phil to the point of suicide. He's going to give Phil a lesson in empathy he'll never forget. In terms of his DNA, Phil believes he is 100% pure white privilege, but Derren's about to inform him that he has a whopping 3.4% victim DNA from the Middle East and 0.9% from Mexico. But just in case that hasn't convinced him, Derren then puts him into a staring contest with a Mexican, during which Phil realizes that brown people are human too, and he breaks down into tears and begs the Mexican for a hug. The white man is established as weak and pathetic, the brown man as noble and strong. Phil's education is now complete. At this point, Derren tells him another lie that the experiment is over and sends him back to his life in the States, working hard to support his privileged white family. But the real fun is only just about to begin. Derren's going to have Phil shot. So he cons a friend into taking Phil on a road trip going through the Mojave Desert. When their car mysteriously breaks down, they go to a bar Derren has rigged with cameras and filled with actors playing racist bikers. Phil's friend makes an excuse to go to a mechanic to get the car fixed and leaves with Phil's phone. The leader of the bikers then comes to talk to Phil and they hit it off. Phil then gets a call at the bar from his friend that he also needs to come to the mechanics for some very unconvincing reason. The bikers offer him a lift. At this point, Derren sends 2 Mexicans into the bar and the bikers kick them out, telling them that their kind aren't welcome there. Phil looks nervous but says nothing. Then, after having known him for about 20 minutes, the leader of the bikers then bizarrely presents Phil with a spare jacket they just have lying around and inducts him into their tribe. They then leave for the mechanics. When outside, they see Mexicans vandalizing their bikes and a chase ensues. When they catch up to the Mexicans, it looks as if a racist execution is going to take place. Even more bizarrely, these homicidal bikers then ask the Mexican if he is an illegal, as if his immigration paperwork would be the real issue here. Apparently these maniacs only like legal Mexicans. The issue they are really dealing with here, of course, is race, not immigration status. But Derren and his team don't have the stomach for an authentic dialogue in this situation. Anyway, just as they learn he is an illegal, they prepare to murder him. And wouldn't you know, the biker has only 1 bullet. Watching from the car in horror, Phil is then played his trigger sound through the car radio and jumps into action. He puts himself in front of the gun, shielding the Mexican bike vandal from harm. He will not be moved and promptly gets shot with a blank. A fake blood pouch explodes inside his new jacket, and poor Phil lies on the ground, covered in blood, trying to comprehend he's about to die. But fear not, Derren walks onto the set for the big reveal. Phil's not been shot, he's not going to die, and, best of all, he's officially no longer a racist. He is now a true hero of our times and can hold his head up high. He has seen the light. He has understood that he represents the old order that must be replaced because of kindness and compassion or something. He now accepts that he should die to protect any brown stranger who wants to illegally enter his country. And the cherry on top is the appearance of his pregnant wife to congratulate her husband on being prepared to leave his young family fatherless and in poverty. This is the ultimate virtue signal, all of which has been achieved through subconscious psychological manipulation. How proud she must be of him. She certainly looks pleased. Ask yourself what you would do and what you would expect your wife or husband to do if you were placed in this position. And what of the triumphant Derren? What reaction does he receive for all the heartache and trauma he has caused? Well, no one has a bad word to say about him. Neither Phil nor his wife saw fit to assault Derren for the nightmare he is supposed to have just put them through. Everyone just seems to automatically accept his moral superiority and his right to treat people as mere pawns in his career. Oh, how they laughed together just minutes after Phil thought he was dying on the ground. Tell me, how did we come to live in a world where Derren's behaviour is seen as anything less than psychopathic? What a farce this show is on every level. But the question of whether or not it's fake is largely irrelevant. Phil is not the real target of this experiment. The target is you. the white person sitting at home. The point is to make you feel that, for you to be a good person, your life and the lives of your people must no longer matter to you above and beyond those of the so-called disadvantaged. And you dare complain about paying taxes to support them? You actually want to build a wall to prevent them coming? You have a family? So what? What sort of monster are you? And of course the message to non-whites is that you should expect this sort of sacrifice from white people. That's your right because of all the past injustices whites perpetrated against your people. And if there are whites that don't accept that, it's because they are bad people who really don't matter. The techniques Derren uses in this program mirror those that have been used by the media and politicians to destroy the West for decades. We are all Phil, and what Derren is demonstrating in this show is what has already been done to the West. This is classic white guilt training. It's not meant to achieve anything other than our total demoralization, and we must resist it with every fibre of our being. This isn't about showing kindness or helping the disadvantaged as Derren would have us believe. This is about undermining our natural instincts to favour our own tribe and preventing us from doing what we need to do to survive. Perhaps the Dalai Lama could also benefit from Derren's lecture on kindness, since he came out again last week stating emphatically that Europe is only for the Europeans and must remain so. He is right, of course, because this is our home and no one else's. So let's discard this bogus moralizing of our enemies. They are wolves in sheep's clothing, and we must never stop calling them out. And this manipulation reminds me of that story when they found a drug that made people more friendly towards migrants, as if it were a sane idea to drug people into accepting the invasion of their homelands. But of course, sanity is in short supply today, so take nothing for granted. They are trying to sell you the idea that it's natural to want to jeopardize the safety and stability of your country by allowing in countless strangers who don't share your history, values, or culture. That nothing is too much to give to them, including your life. Nationalism is our society's immune response, and the only way the left have to suppress it is by cynical manipulation and lies. Everywhere they show us the picture of Aylan Kurdi, but never the picture of Ebba Öcalan. To these people, the sacrifice of our children is just a necessary part of their plan to replace us. There are 2 short videos I'd like to leave you with. Both videos are of men telling the unfiltered truth about multiculturalism, a rare thing in today's world. One is a non-white immigrant, and the other is a white American citizen. Both men reveal important and disconcerting truths about white replacement. First, the immigrant.
What happened to a gay couple in Gaza?
Executed according to Islamic law. Islam doesn't endorse gayism. Islam doesn't endorse homosexuality.
Well, okay, so would you like to see Sharia law in Canada replace Canadian law?
At some point it will. You know, because we have families, we are making babies. You're not. Your population is going down the slump.
That's
right? Yeah. By 2060, Muslims will be the biggest religious group the world over. Right. What are you going to do then?
Actually,
are you going to oppose Sharia even then?
Now, the white American.
So tell me, you lived here for 30-something years. They're classifying this fire as a potential hate crime. What do you think about that?
I think that if people just stayed in their own side of town, their own neighborhood, that things like that wouldn't happen.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, every race and color has their own section of Buffalo almost, so if they just stay on their own side, things like this wouldn't happen. People in these neighborhoods don't want those type of people moving down here and ruining the property value and destroying the neighborhood, so when things like that happen, it shouldn't be such a shock.
What do you mean by those types of people?
Minorities. African Americans.
So are you suggesting that they should stay on the east side rather than coming here to South Buffalo?
Well, they've already wrecked the east side. Why should they come down to the south side and wreck that neighborhood?
Do you think that by saying these things, people on the other side of the city get offended? Do you think that there's some sort of a a bias, potentially?
A lot of people feel this way, they just won't say it.
But you are.
Yeah.
Why are you coming out and saying these things?
Because I own a home and I see what happens when they move into the neighborhood. Property value goes down, kids on the corner, crime goes up. The East Side used to be a beautiful place. Look what they did to that.
Do you think that there's an issue, though, in what you're saying?
Well, I'm sure there is, but, I mean, you got to take a look at why it's an issue.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, they just ruin neighborhoods.
I guess what I'm getting at is that you're generalizing tremendously. These people might have just been here looking for a different way of life, a better way of life.
Maybe the people are afraid after you let one family in, then more of them come in. You know, that's just how it is around here.
All right. Do you think there's anything wrong with what you're saying?
I don't feel there's anything wrong with it. A lot of people would feel wrong about it, but I don't.
If we stay silent, if we passively watch our countries be destroyed like the freshly neutered Phil, this is the truth of what will happen to us. This is why the migrants are being let into our countries. They mean to have it all. Will we let them? Until next time, be well.